I'm sorry. But I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate. We think too much and feel too little. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, to do away with greed. Now let us fight to free the world, to fulfill that promise. Let us all unite.
All right, folks, welcome back. Well, actually, welcome to the Corporation Nation radio program. It is, this is a pre-recorded interview that will be aired on February 5th, 2014. Andrew Ott, my guest tonight, will be joining us tomorrow, Thursday the 6th. If the world stays together and no problems persist, for some questions that he'll field from the callers tomorrow. So, welcome to the show, Dr. H. Ruott.
Well, again, thank you, Clint, for having me. It's a pleasure being on the show again.
And it seems like it was just a minute ago. Where oh, good times. Well, I wanted to give you a chance to finish the story you were telling yesterday. Before we get into, and before I read your bio on nutrition and everything else, and your website, which is ME or Mother Earth, but it's meminerals.com. I just wanted to give you a chance to talk more about, there I go. I forgot Lance Collins, I believe was the name.
Yeah, it really started me on my own body of research. I just was stunned by his declarations of being this high-level Illuminati witch with all these demon entities, and his testimony of what they did and how powerful it is as far as giving them the power of ESP or clairvoyance. The interview was quite in depth about, because he was there to warn me off of Mormonism, okay? Because he said, he has it on highest authority, and him being the authority, that the Mormon hierarchy was very high level in this whole cult, this whole satanic group. And I'm a returned missionary. I'm about as active as you could possibly be. And I said, well, I'm having trouble buying this one, And yet we did air his interview. We didn't go into the Mormon attacks, but just the information as far as witchcraft and Satanism and demonology led me into this. I really went into this to prove him wrong. I did. I came and said, I think he's just a misinformer, but I'll let people decide, And so I did my own research, and wow, what I uncovered was huge. First of all, verifying what he was declaring about the Collins bloodline. And, of course, I also interviewed and talked with Fritz Springmeier back in that era. He wrote was writing this book at that time, The Bloodlines of the Illuminati.
Yeah. Sure. And
sure enough, the Collins bloodline it matches, and it did originate from Scotland. So I followed that trail back, and you know what I found out? Well, King James, the king that really brought the world the Bible, named after him. Okay.
He also wrote a book named Demonology.
Oh, man, I pulled that book up and got a copy of it and read it, and I was stunned.
Yeah.
He basically, outlined the reality. It was a philosophical and scientifically based treatise where he was trying to convince the learned, men of Oxford and other scholars in England the reality of demons and these practitioners of the black arts, how real they were, and how real this unseen world is, Clint. I mean, and when he became king of England, first he was crowned King James of Scotland, but his whole life's mission was to rout out these practitioners of these black arts. Now, they had the choice, these people. He says, I don't care where you go, but if you stay in England or stay in Scotland, we're going to, put you in the dungeons. You're not going to be practicing this. This is a Christian nation based on the Word of God, which we're bringing to the masses. This is what King James brought, to the table. Now, those that left England and Scotland, they disguised themselves as Puritans that had the pure laws, and they came and established themselves in Massachusetts in a place called Salem. And this is the Collins bloodline, but it also parallels a guy named Smith. Okay, and the bloodlines of Joseph Smith intersect wonderfully, amazingly, with the Collins bloodline of black magic.
Well, and I asked you. I held a conference here in Salt Lake City, my first foray into trying to organize something, and it was not many people showed up, but I got to talk to you because you were one of my honored guests, and we got around somehow to talking about who the next presidential candidates were going to be, and you thought very, very much that Mitt Romney, and this was in 2010? That Mitt Romney was going to be the next candidate. I said, why would you think Mitt Romney would possibly be? And you directed me to the Mormon Church, to the genealogical center, and you said there's in the hallway there, right there, gave me directions, and you said, go look at the bloodline of Mitt Romney. Mm-hmm. So I go down there, I take some pictures of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's Bush. There's what's his name from England. There's Gerald Ford. There's all these presidents on this same line coming from what you claimed was a witch in Salem named Anne Hutchinson. Yes, and that is still available. I have it on my website. I think you probably have it on your website. That is still available. Now, I went to the genealogical center the other day because I was in Park City, and they have that same poster up, but they have removed Anne Hutchinson's name.
Well, yeah. See, and this is what I'm getting at. When I went back and listened to Lance Collins, a.k.a. John Todd, that's what he was saying, and I didn't verify this till many years later. It was like, oh my heavens, he's right on. So everything he basically was saying about really who's controlling this country at the highest levels and manipulating the masses through hypnosis, through pharmacopoeia, sorcery, which is pharmaceutical drugs of all kinds. Wow, it just all hit home that man, we are fighting a spiritual battle here. It honestly is that's the bottom line of this whole thing.
And it's not just a pharmacopoeia doesn't necessarily just mean the drugs that are offered in prescriptions, because they're actually putting, I don't know if you've researched this much, but it's pretty frightening when you actually take some of the common food additives that for no reason should be in food, and you combine, say, 3 of them together, and suddenly you have an imitation opiate or a psychotic. Some of the stuff they're putting in food, when it combines, and of course they're putting the smallest molecule of sugar, which is dextrose, to make it go through the blood-brain barrier. And so, I mean, it's not just a pharmaceutical thing; it's in our food.
Well, that's what the Apostle Paul wrote in the New Testament. He says, by sorcery are this nation of the earth deceived. Well, yeah, pharmacopoeia is sorcery in the Greek. That's the same word, same root word. Okay, so, Collins in his testimony, he explained how he was so strung out on drugs, was literally full of demonic entities. And
sure.
And then,
hey, hold on, sure. We'll continue right after the break here. Stay tuned, folks.
The mission was successfully completed. Reality.
Welcome back. Please continue with Mr. Collins and what he was saying. He's saying that he was taking the same type of sorceries, drugs, basically.
Well, opiates. I mean, he was hooked on heroin and speed, and then that. So, yeah. But when it came to Christ, his testimony was how it was a new man. And since I have left Mormonism and embraced biblical Christianity, I got to tell you, I can understand what he's talking about. The term repentance, the word repentance, is not what typically Mormons or Catholics or many other Protestants even think it is. You don't go confess your sins to a person in authority wearing a fancy cross. No. Repentance is simply meaning a change of mind, a change of heart. That's the Greek meaning of it. Okay, so
you're saying it doesn't involve all kinds of torturous abuse to yourself?
No, it's your own mind changing to come to Christ. That's all there is to it. Okay, and so yeah, when Collins did this, he made the circuits for 5 years, telling his Christian story. It's like another story of like crossing the switchblade. Now, since I left the radio show live, I didn't really follow what happened to him. He was a great interview and thought provoking. But now on a Christian walk, I realized, wow, I need to listen to what he has to say again. So I went on. I did just a recent Google search for him, and he has a Wikipedia entry, which was quite amazing. How he basically died in 2007 after being convicted of a rape and being sentenced to a mental hospital, and died there in a mental hospital after being pumped full of all kinds of antipsychotic drugs. Wow, that hit me hard because, you see, and when the Wikipedia article just says, well, all of his claims were disproven. He was never in Vietnam. He was not a Green Beret. Yada yada. There's no record of him killing a person in Germany and being put in the brig and all this. And as I'm reading that whole Wikipedia entry, what he told me in the interview was, hey, I may not be able to have a voice anymore. Listen to what I'm saying, because he says these people have the power to alter records. They have the power to make you a non-factor. They have the power to flat out frame and convict and kill. That was his whole message of his story. So to hear the Wikipedia thing, it's quite simple, really, at that highest level, to make you appear to be a flat-out demon, just ruin your credibility, in other words. Because I say that because it's exactly what's happened to me. They have tried in every possible way to frame me, to, again, put me in a mental hospital. I mean, I even had my younger brother, who's a medical doctor, come to me wanting me to commit myself voluntarily, but he fully had the means and power to have me forcefully committed to a mental hospital and get antipsychotic drugs. He says to anybody that believes what you believe about a conspiracy, anything, and to disavow the Mormon priesthood the way you've done it has to be flat out schizophrenic.
Well, and let's be clear that this wasn't just you just didn't go away from the quote unquote church, the corporation, lightly. You actually literally witnessed in the government, and of course anybody with half a brain knows that the church is the government in Utah here. You witnessed the criminal activity of the church, and that is why. And when you tried to go against that and say, no, this is not Christian at all, your answer was to be shunned, basically. Well,
and they don't, in my position, my enough people were watching me. It was in their best interest to discredit me,
yes,
by false accusations and perhaps conviction, and then take care of me in prison. And just like what happened to John Todd, a.k.a. Lance Collins, exactly the same story. It just sent cold chills down my spine. Because he told me he knew that was going to happen to him. He says, I just know that, every day that I walk this earth talking about Christ is a blessed day for me, because I know the power they have against me. And so, yeah, it may very well be the guy, you just don't get out of that high level scot-free. You just don't. You don't break away from them. They will take you out. But what he was exposing, as far as the people involved, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the control of the world's assets, and we talked yesterday about the Bakken oil fields. I mean, that's exactly what he was laying out. It's exactly what's the problem. So if you haven't ever heard of John Todd and his interviews, there's a lot of them posted of his talks at Christian churches. There's dozens of them on the internet now. I just advise you to go take a listen and judge for yourself and see if his message isn't in line with biblical Christianity.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, what he did tell me, and one of the reasons why I went into the mineral business I'm doing now, is because he says part of the plan is to make people just chronically ill by, again, lack of nutrition, lack of proper protocols for the food. The food's been robbed of minerals. He laid all this out for me. He did. And I thought, well, let me check this out. And sure enough, it panned out. He's right. And I enrolled into a doctorate program out of the Kneipp Institute in Dresden, Germany, and learned what happened to the Dresden, Germany people at the tail end of World War II. I mean, firebomb, incinerating, as many as 400,000 Christian people. Incredible story of what happened there. Dresden was not a target militarily. They weren't manufacturing bombs or machine guns or tanks or planes. Dresden was the epicenter of nutrition and naturopathic healing in the world. That's why they were targeted. That's why they were firebombed.
Oh, the hidden history.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now, go ahead, please.
And so, yeah, that led me down. And every course of study I took through the correspondence course, through the internet, was just a stunner. I was like, and my original research project was on minerals and the right particle size, and that led me to form my company. And I was just, really? I like the old that Arby's commercial with Bo Dietl, right? Really? Really? He was asking that question. I'm just like, can that really be that amazing? It led me to study what's going on with sodium fluoride and the fluoridation of the water, the fluoridation of our toothpaste, and what really that affects the frontal lobes of the brain. The cognitive reasoning makes people a whole lot more susceptible to media programming. Flat out does. This is what I was learned in this course, this doctorate course. Wow.
What university did you say it was?
Well, it's no longer available. It's defunct. It's called the Kneipp Institute. But back then, and this is in the late 80s, early 90s, it was very well thought of, and it's kind of morphed into kind of another university study of nutrition. Much of the curriculum has been adopted, believe it or not, by Oregon State University now. You can get basically the same course through the Linus Pauling Institute there at Oregon State, the Beavers.
And Linus Pauling had a lot to do with your own research, as did that of Tesla and his mentor and all these guys who've been doing this for so long. We'll be back, folks. Stay with us. We'll get more into True Ott and his work in nutrition.
It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory. Empty your mind before...
Now, a similar situation to when you, and by the way, my guest today is Dr. H. Ruat. We're going to be talking about his business. Wonderful, wonderful things he's done in the field of nutrition. But, likewise, you sent me out to look for on a mission, basically, to look at certain things. You did the same thing when you gave me your book. You gave me, without charging me, you're just like, you got to read this. You gave me the book. It's called Wellness Secrets for Life. This was over, 2 years ago now. Wellness Secrets for Life, an owner's manual for the human body. And I got to tell you, this is a book. And I'm not a salesman. I got no sponsors. I'm not trying to hook anybody into things. This was a book that I would put in the top 5 list of books to read because it is what you don't learn. It is everything you don't learn. And the reason that you don't learn it is because the entire vitamin and mineral industry that is run by big massive corporations, of course, depends on you not understanding what's in this book. That's one of those. This is one of those types of books, and I've given them away. I bought a bunch of them and I've given them away. It's just incredible. And again, it's Wellness Secrets for Life, an owner's manual for the human body. You also have a couple other books, Secret Assassins of Food, which goes into food additives. And these are all available on ME. Oh, I'm going to have you say it because my M's aren't coming out too good with my nose.
My company's Mother Earth Minerals Incorporated. And just by the way, parenthetically, when you go onto my website, you'll see my corporate logo. And I had that specifically designed. People say, well, that's New Age Illuminati. That's, the pyramid of all-seeing eye, yada, yada. And I did that on purpose because, I took what people like John Todd told me about the symbolism, and I said, okay, the pyramid with the all-seeing eye is controlling this, or seeking to control this earth. What if the light, the golden light of truth, were to break through that and dissolve it? Go from a dark triangle to just flat out eliminating it. So that's my logo. It's the planet Earth having the truth, God's truth, dissolving that control and stranglehold. So that's the background behind that logo. But meminerals.com is my website. It stands for MotherEarthMinerals.com. I give credit where credit's due here. Linus Pauling is really the mentor behind what the research in the formulations of my water-soluble minerals are. Golly, he's left us. He's passed on. But when I was learning this, and actually I've never met him. He's a 2-time Nobel Prize winner, a great researcher, great honest man. I did have the chance to talk to him twice on an interview, on a phone call, and he was just phenomenal, kind, Christian in every way. And so I dedicate what I do, really to his, because he really found, he studied what minerals do and why they do it, okay? And he paid the price. He was blackballed in the last decade of his life by the cartel. I mean, because, wow, he said you can trace every disease, every illness, every condition, ultimately to a simple mineral deficiency. And logically, like you said, it really does make sense. Our bodies are composed of the dust of the earth. That's what the Bible tells us. And so when we're imbalanced in basic minerals, our endocrine system, our 7 glands of the endocrine system that just don't operate optimally, you start getting some disruptions in organs, and you start having conditions, okay? And that's the basic, it's basically how I fight back, Clint. I got to tell you, that's how I do it. I say, well, if I can give a solution to one of the problems facing this great country is people are chronically ill and don't need to be. It's my way of fighting back and saying, hey, here's some ideas that might help you, gain back your most precious asset in the whole world, and that's your health. If you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything, Clint.
Exactly. Now, one of the things you told me to do And I did, because when you tell me to do something, I generally do it.
Now, come on now.
when the redheaded giant tells me that I should go look at something, I go look at it. So you said just go to Eddie's, go to any supplement store, go to any store, basically especially any, Kmart, Walmart. Pick up a bottle of any of the top brand, 99% basically of all the minerals out there. And this is what really changed my whole outlook on things. He said, you're going to see that they're going to tell you in one paragraph, it's going to tell you that it has calcium and magnesium and whatever else. But then on the ingredients list, it's going to tell you something else. It's going to list the mineral, and then it's going to tell you it's actually not calcium, but calcium carbonate. It's not magnesium, but it's magnesium stearate. It's a phosphate, palmate, pantothenate, picolinate for chromium picolinate, sulfate, acetate, fumarate, ascorbate, it just goes on and on and on. And you look at the ingredients list and you're like, holy crap. What does that mean? It means that that's not the mineral. It's a mineral compound. In other words, it's the fusing of two minerals to create a compound. And a compound is not what your body needs or wants. And the best way that True described this to me was is to think of plants and plant roots, because see, plant roots go down into the ground to dig for the trace minerals. And the trace minerals are in such a small size. They haven't bonded in the form of a compound onto another metal, which is what a mineral basically is for the most part. There's exceptions, oxygen. But, to get this explanation and to understand that the plants can only absorb a certain, a very small size mineral, and to understand that's how the body works, and then to understand that what he's done, what True has done in his minerals, at Mother Earth Minerals, he's actually taken the mineral compounds. He's got the mineral now separate, and you see that's the trick. You can't take these things together because they bind to each other. They compound. So you have to take each supplement individually so that the mineral gets a chance to actually go into your body and get absorbed by your body through the blood-brain barrier, basically. And I got to tell you, once I understood that and how that works, and then all of a sudden you could get calcium to the bones, whereas before calcium carbonate, my favorite. I even started a website that's probably not even there anymore. It's called Don't Eat Chalk. Don't eat chalk. What? Don't eat calcium carbonate, because it's literally a compound that your body can't. Put a piece of chalk in a glass of water. What happens? 2 weeks later, you come back. The chalk is not dissolved. Your body's 70% water. The rest of it is in the form of minerals. Well, why would you put something that can't be dissolved in water into your body? You see, I'm an advocate of yours, True, and not because selling products is great, but what we're doing is we're ingesting the wrong kind of products. We're ingesting like a Centrum pill, with all these. It's supposedly supposed to just be a miracle way of delivering all these things into your body, and yet your body just is not able to process such things. So, now that I've built you up, explain this process.
It's a complex issue, of course, and not. There's no such thing as one size fits all. Each individual is different. Each individual has a different fingerprint and a different DNA structure. So, but there are some basic principles, like you said, that are universal. The best way to get your minerals is just how God designed it. We're to eat plants, vegetables primarily that are grown in mineral-rich soil. And that's how our intestinal tract is designed to absorb the minerals into the bloodstream. Now, this is what Pauling was helping immensely. He said it has to be particle size. You just don't have the ability enzymatically to break down these minerals and that are from the compounds to have them be absorbed in the intestinal tract and the bloodstream.
Well, they're literally metal. I mean, it's how does your body absorb metal?
The very reason a person is low in magnesium or calcium is because they don't have the enzymes in the intestinal tract to break down what little minerals there are, whether in the dairy product or the food, the broccoli stem, whatever the case may be. So this is where I realized, first of all, that we have to design.
I apologize, Joe. I'm going to cut you off just so we can take a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, neighbor. Welcome again to this neighborhood. I'd like to show you something. You know what this is? Well, maybe if I press this button. There are so many things to learn about in this world, and so many people who can help us learn, and so many people.
All right, folks, welcome back. Again, the book that I'm specifically referring to that was a life changer for me, or at least a consciousness changer, was Wellness Secrets for Life, an owner's manual for the human body, and that's available on meminerals.com, which stands for Mother Earth Minerals, which is Dr. H.R. Ott's corporation that he formed to do what he's doing. And I've been there several times, and we have our 4 to 6 hour chats that we have. That just time goes crazy. And I've gone back and I've seen the room where the stuff is made, and it's truly you're one of the actual few family businesses that I think actually can still claim to be a family business, because you got your whole family coming in and out of there, your daughters and your sons, your wife.
Well, we've had offers, to take us big time, to go public, and no. If it means losing our hands on, I'm not interested in doing that.
Compromise.
And so we have a unique niche in the marketplace, and I saw it early on. Okay, I wanted to the optimum thing is to be able to provide a fertilizer, product for our crops, to have mineral-rich foods. But the problem you run into that is our buddies up at the top of the food chain, Monsanto and those boys won't let it happen. Okay, and even in the so-called organic markets, why, trust me, they just don't go there. Okay, and then the cost and production of that. Wouldn't it be easier to replicate a product that doesn't have to go into the digestive tract, that you can take under the tongue sublingually? Because under the tongue and homeopathy and naturopathy, you've got a direct, almost like a IV injection point under the tongue. If you have a truly water soluble structure, it will go into the bloodstream immediately. And so that's what I did in my research project for my doctorate, is showing through blood work before and after people taking sublingual water soluble solution, and then you test for their blood and test their blood for mineral content, and even their hair analysis later on, and we've proved that it does do the job. And so this is where I realized, well, here's a market niche. There's nobody doing minerals this way, and so I began producing these in the early 90s.
Yeah, you yourself in your book, you said you claimed to have been pretty unhealthy at the time. I can't remember the reason, and that you basically were able to get yourself out of that health condition. I can't remember what it was, though.
I look back at, and it was like, okay, God was opening a door for me. I was a typical, again, I was LDS with the concept that if you're a filthy rich multimillionaire, that you're doing everything God wants you to do. And that's part of Mormonism, is the wealthier you are, the more righteous you are, the more perfect you are, right? And so
that includes such things as plastic surgery, of which we are probably the second largest place for plastic surgery here. And that is an honored profession, by the way, in the church here.
So I'm in that mindset. I'm working for Hugh W. Pinnock's Intermountain Financial Group. Pinnock was a general authority of the Mormon Church at that era, and so anyway, yeah, I'm working my tail off to be a millionaire before 30, and I was well on my way. I was trained by the best of the best in Wall Street. Was a financial planning, corporate estate planner, et cetera, et cetera. I was fully licensed, Series 6 and 63s, doing stock brokering, mutual fund, all of this. And I one day I was working at my business, and I just keeled over, collapsed, and I woke up in an ambulance. I guess I'd flatlined even, and they had to zap me with the paddles. My heart had stopped. My heart was doing crazy things. It was running like a freight train. It was just, here I am, just barely 30, and I'm deathly ill. I had what they finally diagnosed me with what they call hypokalemia, which is fancy medical term for dangerously low, almost non-existent in potassium. Yeah, and golly, the doctor, bless his heart, the internist, he said, well, okay, we'll have to put you on these potassium pills and get your potassium levels up. You have to come every week, and we'll have to take your blood, testing. I felt I was chronically ill. I was way sick. Because you know what? I couldn't absorb potassium. I couldn't absorb minerals. Something in my intestinal tract was blocking absorption of these potassium pills. And I was eating bananas like he had me on bananas like 10 every morning and night. I was like,
and potassium. The first thing you learn in medical school, from what I understand, is that you don't push potassium. You can't inject potassium into the blood. It kills you instantly. Mm-hmm. So it's a very dangerous thing to be low on, especially if your body won't allow it to be absorbed through the digestion system.
And everything revolves around it. Your heart is a muscle that needs electrolytes, or it constricts and stops and goes into rest, which is what happened to me. And by the way, it's what happens to so many athletes. Many athletes, a lot of times they'll just drop dead prematurely. Even Pistol Pete Maravich is a good example. Just drops over. Boom! It's as you sweat and perspire a lot and are athletic and under a lot of stress. And believe me, I was under a high stress position of brokering stocks and managing portfolios, and I was under stress to the point where my potassium was lost. I worked out a lot. I played a lot of basketball. I was fairly athletic, and doggone it, it was a wake-up call. It changed my life. And I had to learn about why can't my body absorb potassium? Why can't I, be healed rapidly? I was in bed for 6 months, scared that I was going to die again, But my study of how to get potassium in me correctly led me to this whole field and study, and eventually rolling into PhD program of nutrition. And that's what led me to make my first mineral solute, water soluble, was for potassium to get me fixed. That was what I did first.
How selfish you are.
I am. I'm selfish. I had to fix me first.
But to be clear, though, eventually you found out that a lot of these things don't work without each other to support them too.
Oh yeah, there's synergism. Calcium needs a magnesium, and vice versa. Potassium needs an iodine molecule to really help regulate the thymus. But it gets even more in depth as you go into what's blocking the intestinal tract. And this is not so much in my book. I've found this out much later. We're a nation that consumes a lot of whole grains, and I consumed a lot of whole grains. Whole grains now, the research has proven that there's a lot of anti-nutrients. There's something called phytic acids and oxalates that are basically anti-nutrient toxins that coat your intestinal tract so that you cannot absorb the minerals. Okay? And so, you've got to be able to to bypass the intestinal tract as far as minerals is concerned, to really start balancing out your enzyme structures and your endocrine system. And that's the story behind the story as far as health is concerned. So, yeah, it's been fun. We're constantly learning new things. I like to say I'm on the cutting edge and finding out, because the minute you say you know everything and rest on your laurels is the minute you just might as well just kiss it goodbye.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's like I said, you certainly opened my eyes with your little book there, and it's not a very long book. And I always wanted, I never really asked you about this, but in the back of the book, you actually have what I refer to as recipes almost for different individual, what we call dis-ease, right? Dis-ease, your body not at ease a lot of times, as you said, due to stress. Mm-hmm. When we get back, I want you to explain how that works, because there's a different one for multiple sclerosis, there's one for diabetes, there's one for, each condition or disease has a certain recipe, if you will. So when we get back, I'd like you to talk about that. Stay with us, folks. Dr. A. Truott, Mother Earth Minerals, meminerals.com, and atruott.com. Stay tuned.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are men. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful. Let us use that power to make this life a wonderful adventure. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world to do away with greed. A world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass and dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Let us all unite.
Welcome back, folks, to the Corporation Nation, and, if I may, the story behind the story with Dr. A. Truott. Very interesting topics today, and it is the topic of nutrition and the importance of understanding how the body works, and specifically how minerals interact with your mostly water-based system. And, of course, the fact that most of the stuff that we buy in stores are really not soluble. They're not able to be absorbed by the body, not only because they're not water soluble, they're not necessarily organic, and we'll discuss what that actually means with true, but they're also not they're too big. They're just not in a size that can be absorbed through the bloodstream. That's true. As I was saying before the break, you have some recipes in the back of your book that are specific to each condition, or, like we said, dis-ease. The important part about these is that they all start, I believe, if my memory serves me, they all start with the basics. In other words, you must have calcium, you must have magnesium for the most part, and you must have chromium, for instance, because all of these form a sort of a chain within the body. But again, you have to take them separately. Well, it's suggested that you take them separately anyway. Put them under your tongue, let them absorb into your body. Then you take the next one, you put that under your tongue, you let them absorb into your body. That way they can actually get to the correct places. So each one of these recipes for different ailments or different problems with the body have a recipe. Why don't you explain how that works?
Well, again, I give the credit where credit's due. I don't have a research lab. I don't have multi-millions of dollars to do this research. I just drew. I got with the permission of my mentor, Dr. Pauling, and others, great men that came before me, basically found out what minerals do what for what in the endocrine system and in the secretion of other products. Okay, well, see what happens and this is what really was an aha moment to me. The term we throw around all the time, vitamin, is actually an acronym. It's broken down from two words: vital minerals, vitamin. It's a fact, folks. Your cells, your tissues, and other parts of your body can produce vitamin if they have the vital mineral, but it's not vice versa. If you just supplement vitamins, they never be able to produce minerals. So minerals are the basic building block. And what you have to realize is that the body inherently knows what to do with a calcium ion or a chromium or vanadium ion. It knows where to put it into the process. You don't have to think about it. It's not conscious. Your cells it's an incredible factory assembly line going on microscopically in your body. You don't have to worry about it. That's the miracle of this human body that we have. Okay? So with the cellular transport system, the mitochondria works in conjunction with different apparatus in the body, and the body can produce what's called enzymes. Minerals are best described, Clint, as coenzyme factors. They're the basic building blocks of multiplicity of enzymes, which in turn then basically produce all of the things that keep your body in homeostasis balance. So that's really my 3-hour lecture in a short Reader's Digest condensed version. But it all has to begin with the minerals. And again, Linus Pauling brought this out better than anybody. And just let me just sing his praises. He's a fellow that brought us really the miracle of ascorbic acid, the vitamin C complex that we know today, and his 2-time prize-winning Nobel Prize awards in nutrition and medicine was based on this research. Okay, and back then, in the late 80s, early 90s, there was not a whole lot. The internet was pretty much just kind of fledgling. There was not a whole body of research available other than in Europe and Dresden and other places that Pauling and others put me onto, where we can actually put these protocols together, okay? The Dresden group had been studying this for literally a century, and it was far advanced. They knew exactly what minerals did, what sulfur did, for instance, what calcium, magnesium. They were 50 years ahead of America in that. And but today, you know what? Golly, you go online and type in magnesium, benefits of magnesium, or benefits of whatever mineral, and you see the whole thing. But when I came out with my book, it wasn't there. It wasn't available. And I'm just so happy to see corroboration now, and it's well done research. It's becoming more widely accepted, and that's great to see. Great to see.
Well, let me clarify now. If I were to take a vitamin supplement, I guess we need to know the difference between a vitamin and a mineral. But if I were to take a vitamin and my body doesn't have the necessary minerals for that vitamin to conduct with, because again, we're talking about metals for the most part, then the vitamin is virtually worthless. It can't be processed.
Well, Ken, you got to look who manufactures the vitamins. They're synthetics. Right. Who manufactures them? Do they just grow on trees? Well, vitamin C is found in citrus fruit, of course, but that's an exception. Your vitamin A's, they're synthesized out of oils. And look, and I did this. This is part of the research I did when I was writing my book. Where do these vitamin supplements come from? Well, they're synthesized out of petrochemicals, the lion's share of them. Okay, so this is the paradox. People say, well, I'm going to go natural, and I'm going to take a lot of supplements, and I'm not going to subscribe to big pharma. I'm not going to enrich big pharma. But every time you go and buy, a major brand of vitamins, you are, in fact, enriching Big Pharma. That's the paradox.
Well, so really, then we have a massive petroleum, fake artificial mineral or vitamin lake up there in the Balkan Reserve, then, don't we?
Well, see, here's the reality. Okay, I'll give credit where credit's due. The chemists that graduate from our American universities and worldwide universities, they really get employed in research and development by Big Pharma. That's what they do. And it's amazing what can be done with the benzene molecule of petrochemicals. It's malleable. You can architect it to be whatever. And the whole bottom line of Pauling's groundbreaking work, and my work, frankly, is that everything works on a vibratory frequency at the cellular level. You look at whether you're taking a Celebrex or a Viagra or whatever. I mean, the thing works because of a chemical chain that produces a specific vibratory frequency. But for every action, right, Clint, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
That's why you have something called side effects. They're not side effects at all. They are effects.
Right. All right, folks, stay with us. We'll be back with Dr. H. Truott after the break.
Did you see the frightened ones? Did you hear the falling bombs? Did you ever wonder why we had to run for shelter when the promise of a brave new world unfurled beneath the clear blue sky?
Welcome back to the Corporation Nation. And today, it's also the story behind the story with Dr. H. Truott. And, I guess, gosh, there's so many questions, and hopefully people will remember to tune in tomorrow, if this all works out, this schedule, that Truott will be taking your phone calls for his own little story behind the story show here on the Corporation Nation. That'll be on Thursday, the 6th of February, if all works out well. Which often it doesn't, but we'll see. Now, I don't know how to broach this subject, True, and I apologize. I probably should have talked to you before I even broach it, but you have other products. You have other products there that are not just in the nutrition field as far as being minerals and such. You have, I don't know how many of those you actually want to talk about, or people can actually just go and see for themselves. But some of the things that you've done and have been able to do with these minerals combined with other things are, to say the least, groundbreaking and impressive. And of course, based on the works of other great men in history, which include Tesla and Royal Rife, etc. Now, those are also for sale on your site. I don't know how much you want to talk about that, the trouble that you had with the FDA and such like that.
Well, yeah, it's all part of the story. It seems, from my standpoint, if you're peddling garbage, snake oil, you're not going to be bothered. Again, another paradox here. I don't like to denigrate other things, but there's a lot of garbage out there. I mean, there's a lot of just nasty stuff that they can say and do and make all kinds of outlandish claims, and they don't have a problem with the FTC and the FDA and the alphabet soup agencies. But, man, if you got something that really threatens the pharmaceutical cartel monopoly, you're going to get targeted. And that's what I see that has happened with me. Maybe it's a part of what I was, my story behind the story broadcasting. Maybe I've always been targeted. I don't care. But believe me, and you know my story, I have been I have been as the end of an arrest where, it's shock troop type of thing, okay? And I don't want to go there. I just try and just remain positive. But what the body needs in addition to minerals, folks, you need pure hydrogen, you need pure water. The root word of hydration is hydrogen. That's where it comes from. Okay, and here's another really important fact. Folks, there's a concerted effort in this country to make the water you drink, whether it's a tap water or whatever, to make it alkaline. Now, and this is outlined in my book, Clint. I hope it's very clear to anybody reading, it can understand what pH means. pH is percent or parts hydrogen. The research chemists that came up with the pH chart of water, the chemists named Bronsted and Lowry, gave us the pH chart. And the bottom line is, folks, the only time you really have H2O, two hydrogen ions bound with an oxygen molecule, is at 7.2, right in about the middle of the pH scale from 1 to 14. Folks, listen up, because this is very important. Take nothing away from this interview. Understand this. If you drink alkaline water, you're not drinking water anymore. You're drinking OH negative. At about the 7.9 to 8 on the pH scale, water then becomes something called OH negative, which is called hydroxyl, which if you just do any type of basic homework at all, you'll learn that is a carcinogenic free radical. Is there any wonder why we have a war on cancer when people are consuming alkaline OH negative that attacks their cells and ruins their DNA? The purer the water becomes, Clint, the purer, I'm talking about the measurement as far as total dissolved solids or TDS, the purer the water becomes, the more acidic it becomes, meaning it's in about 5.5 to 5.6 in a purity range of 0 to 1 TDS.
Well, and let's clarify here, because if I don't eat, if I go to sleep right now and I wake up in 8 hours, my stomach acid would be at its more neutral state, which is acidic. So if you're going to fill your body with an alkaline water, it's going to fight your body's acidic the stomach acid, and your stomach acid is not going to be able to do its job. Is that correct?
Well, the stomach acid is hydrochloric acid. What does that mean? Hydrogen, hydration. The more hydrogen ions, the more acidic it becomes, and chloric from chloride, which is why sodium chloride, is needed. Okay, and we have that in our diet in oodle amounts. What we're missing, America is dehydrated, Clint. They're not getting the hydrogen through the right water they're drinking. When you drink alkaline water, what happens in your hydrochloric, your acid, hydrochloric acid, becomes buffered. It becomes more alkaline. The fact is, most Americans that have acid reflux, it's the body trying to balance out their buffered hydrochloric acid. It's too much on the alkaline side, and this is they shouldn't call them antacids that you take. They should call them what they really are. They're anti-alkaline pills. Okay, everything's just warped backwards. I'm telling you, when you start consuming the right water, miracles start happening in your stomach, which is your very basis of all nutrition. Your stomach is where where the food that you eat hits that stomach and turns into a semi-liquid stream, and digestion begins at that point. Folks, the nutrition formula is really pretty simple. You've got to get that food going through your intestinal tract in the right form so that you can, process your intestines can do its work, and you should have regular bowel movements. If you're not, you're dehydrated. It's a really pretty simple formula. So,
and that gives a new meaning to the word dehydrate, too, because it's not just lack of water, it's lack of the right kind of water.
Right. What I explain in my seminars, it's pretty simple. People look at me and scratch their head and says, really? Yeah, really. If you're stuck on a life raft, let's say your cruise ship goes down, you're stuck on a life raft in the middle of the Pacific, and you don't have fresh water to drink. Why can't you just, if you're really thirsty, just go get some of that seawater and drink? It's water. Won't it hydrate you? No, it dehydrates you. Your kidneys will shut down much faster. You will die of thirst faster by drinking seawater than if you had fresh water, and that's a extreme example. But the salt and mineral content in the ocean water makes it alkaline to your body. Okay, and so it's the same concept of thinking you can get hydrated drinking water that's 8 on the pH scale. Okay, can't do it.
No, it has to be done through nutrition.
Yeah. You'll drink all the water in the world, but your cells are starving for water.
But you still certainly recommend to keep your body at an alkaline, not an alkaline, but with the test when you're testing your saliva to keep it,
that's
non-acidic.
Yeah, that's called interstitial fluid, and that has to be alkaline. It only becomes alkaline by having the right water, the acidic water coming into your body.
Right. All right, folks, stay with us. We'll be back with more nutrition with Dr. H. Rott. Stay with us.
Through ideological hegemony. But if you think you need guns to stop tyranny, then what you waiting for? We've already stripped you of your liberty, privacy, civil rights, and dignity. You want some more?
Let's build a happy little cloud. Let's build some happy little trees. There are no limits here.
All right, folks, welcome back.
Start out by believing here.
Here in the Corporation Nation, we're talking about the ultimate lesson in nutrition, really, as far as I'm concerned, which is understanding how the body absorbs what we call nutrition, or minerals, vitamins, waters, and all that. Now, it's interesting because the thing that I like to keep stocked up from is your water, which I want to talk about the process that you actually create. Because, in True's little building there, it's not huge, but it could be called a factory, I suppose. He has a massive stainless steel. What do we call that? A
storage tank.
Well, it's to
distiller.
Clean the water. Distiller. Yes, thank you very much. Huge stainless steel distiller there, and he bottles water, and that is the base of the products that you use. You're not just getting water out of the tap. You're actually doing it right there on the spot. And what you were telling me that water has a very distinct quality to it, which is basically could be considered H3O. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. Again, look at Bronsted and Lowry's study. We talked about hydroxyl on the alkaline side. When the water becomes purified, it actually measures by your pH measurement as much as 5. My water is about 5.8 on the pH scale. Bronsted and Lowry identifies this as extra hydrogen. It's called hydronium, H3O. Okay, so that's what we begin our formulations with, high hydrogen. Now, our bodies are composed of water. We're water beings, right? Mostly water. Our brain is mostly water. And minerals. We're basically water and minerals. That's the basic beginning formula. But see, not just any type. It has to be, again, the same way nature would do it. Water can be like oxygen. Oxygen can be stripped of electrons, okay, and so can water, and so can mineral solid. If they're stripped of electrons, especially antioxidant, powerful antioxidants like selenium, if selenium ions are stripped of electrons, they are toxic, but they're still selenium. But see, if they can either be a free radical or they can be an antioxidant free radical quencher. It all depends on something called electrons, and these are electrical particles that are bound to the water. Water can be either negatively charged, which means that the water has extra electrons, or it can be positively charged, which means it's the opposite, stripped of electrons. Boy, this is all basic chemistry, folks. And those of the chemists that may be listening understand and know what I'm talking about here. So what we do with our products is put them through a electrification process called hydrolysis. It's called also redoxing. And this basically chocks it full of life-giving electrons. And that brings us to the second part of the equation, which is what really got me into trouble with the powers that be, because how dare I replicate Nikola Tesla's healing violet ray machine? How dare I do that? Nikola Tesla, he's known for giving us AC power. I mean, we light up our homes because of Nikola Tesla, yet most people can't really understand even how AC works. Alternating current works. We know how DC works through batteries, through, positive, negative poles. But alternating current is still a really neat mystery, right? Well, Tesla found out during the mid-1910s about the healing electrical gradients that the body uses. The body's electrical. The body's an electrical circuit. And Tesla understood that. And he came out with a revolutionary patent product called the violet ray machine. It was a great way to just chock the body full of life-giving electrons. Okay? Wow. What he started doing, and during the so-called pandemic of 1918, which, by the way, was caused by some contaminated vaccines, all right, he was able to heal many, many people in New York, critically, deathly ill 1918 Spanish flu patients with this violet ray machine. It caught the attention. It was, the newspapers picked up on what he was doing. A little guy in Dearborn, Michigan figured, wow, let's see what this does. And this guy's name was Henry Ford. So there in Michigan, they basically wanted to do an assembly line and mass produce these violet ray machines, which were patented by Tesla. The story's amazing, an amazing historical vignette. They began to mass produce these, and medical clinics were lining up with orders, assembly line orders for 6 months out. I've shared with you the original booklet on this, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And by golly, what happened was an incredible concentrated effort by these individuals who call themselves, well, I won't say what they call themselves, Clint, but you know what I'm talking about. The Purple Gang was brought in, paid assassins, paid gangsters from New York City. The mafia, the so-called Jewish mafia boys, came in, led by a guy named Horowitz. I kid you not. And basically threw a monkey wrench into this whole violet ray machine system. Kidnapping, murder, extortion, firebombing. Destroyed the plant, destroyed the whole system.
Destroyed Ford's plant.
And Ford was so incensed with this, he put out a lot of his money, some reports upwards of $1 million himself, to rout out who was behind this problem. And Henry Ford came out with his books after that called The International Jew. That's where it came from. That's why he did it. Why he was fingering what they called the nihilists, the ones responsible for basically destroying good things in society. But Henry Ford was, he was not. He had to have financing too, and he was. The whole thing came down hard on him in a major way. The violet ray machine went the way of the dodo bird. Okay, it was just he let that go.
Did you ever find out whether they were actually collected or recalled, or did they? I mean, are there some out there still?
There is. In fact, a gentleman actually brought me a 1920 violet ray machine. It's cooler than cool because, what I did with all this research from the Body Electric and other things, we found. There's the website that's just been posted now called the Lightning Cure. People, and this is old documentation that Tesla built off of. In fact, people with chronic cancers or illnesses were hit by lightning and found out that their body was cured.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story, but it's there. There's all kinds of documents in the original medical journals on this whole thing about electricity.
Now, just as a disclosure, all you crazy people out there, do not go out and find a lightning storm. And there's better ways. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So, thanks for that disclaimer. And by the way, we're not diagnosing or trading anything here. We're just saying history.
Please don't come arrest us or raid us because we're not promoting a cure. We know cure is your word. We would never dare use it.
But the body needs electrons, basically the whole thing. And if you can put electrons in through the bloodstream, through the tissues, saturate them, what that means is healing and repair is greatly amplified. The minerals that we do market, they're much more potent. They're much more effective if it's combined with what we call a photon beam. Again, it's just building up. I found this electron information and found the patents, the old U.S. Patent Office copies that have now expired. But I was able to pull those and basically recreate what Tesla was doing in the means of the circuitry of the photon sound beam. It's a Tesla device ultimately, and so do I know these things work? Well, when I was experimenting with this back in the 90s, as you know, Clint, I thought, the only way to know is to test it, to put it out there and see if it works. And boy, did we ever do that.
Yeah.
And boy, did we ever prove it worked. And then that's when, the powers that be.
That's when the FDA's hellfire came raining down.
Yeah. And it's just what it is. It's just what it is.
Well, and there's obviously more to the story, and for people who want to actually, for people who would actually like to consult with you about this and actually because what you're saying here is that the minerals are great by themselves, but if you add oxygen, you add extra hydrogen, you add good water, and you add a little bit of just basically electricity, you've got a powerhouse healing tool that can do things that would probably shock most people. And that's what that original machine, in fact, that original machine that was being produced by Henry Ford, it had attachments for basically every part of the body. It's a very interesting piece of machinery. Dental uses, rectal uses. I mean, it was incredible. I got to say myself. So, if people want to consult with you, you know what? I hear music, so I'll tell you what. I'll get your information after the break, and we'll wrap this up.
He's a rebel and a runner. He's a signal turning green. He's a restless young romantic, wants to run the big machine. He's got a problem with his poisons, but we'll find a cure. He's cleaning up the systems to keep his nature pure.
That song is devoted to my guest, Dr. A. Truott, for literally trying to heal the diseases of the world and being stepped on with the iron thug boot of government for doing so. And my hat is off to Dr. Truott, personal hero of mine. I know you don't like to hear that, True, but take it, man.
Well, you're so kind. I need to correct you on one thing. We don't heal anything. We just give the body what it needs to heal. We just give it the raw materials. That's all we do.
Yes, we have to be careful of our semantics, don't we?
Well, it's the truth. I mean, really, the body is the hero. The body is doing it all. We're just giving it what it needs as the basic raw materials. I like to when I do counsel with people, I tell them, look, you got to understand on a microscopic level, your body is an incredibly complex factory, okay? But like any factory, if it doesn't have raw materials coming in to produce the widgets, the factory line will shut down, and then over time, it just falls apart. The body's really simple. It needs basic minerals, it needs hydrogen ions, and it needs electrons, energy to make it work. And repairs happen. And we have file cabinets full of very positive testimonials.
Absolutely.
So.
I've seen some of them. If people did want to, obviously, again, your website is ME for Mother Earth, meminerals.com. If people want to actually consult with you personally and discuss some of these things, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, yeah, thanks, Clint. Keep in mind we are a mom and pop organization. When you call up, you talk to either my sweetheart wife or my daughters, either one. And I don't answer the phone. They kind of my gatekeepers. But they will schedule a consultation. We don't charge. We never have. If you want to donate, that's totally up to you. But there's never a charge. Do it. That's what I do. I love to just help people. It's a free service. So it's toll free. It's 866-989-9876. Toll free 866-989-9876. That's our direct line.
Oh, very nice. Well, there's so much more I would love to talk to you about. Maybe since we're running out of time here, we'll cover your recent NSA demonstration that you attempted to have, because we've got this massive NSA center being built right here. They actually, the first thing they did was actually to erect a whole set of power poles, the whole power grid that goes to this one building, and then they started constructing the building. And I'd like to get an update on that. Maybe we'll do that before we take calls tomorrow. But again, join us. This is a pre-recorded interview, but join us tomorrow where Truott is going to be live and in person. Well, in digital person anyway, which will be Thursday the 6th. And he'll take your questions on anything we've talked about or anything you want to talk about. I know he was obviously been a prominent host, including here on Republic. So, that NSA center, though, sir, that's.
Well, it's a very epitome. In fact, it's even worse than the epitome of the book 1984, Big Brother. I mean, Clint, I have people like Deborah Tavares and her husband, bless her heart. She's a boy. She has just got a fire in her belly. Deborah came out, and until you get there and see it, she was just speechless. She says, "Oh my stars, it's that massive." And then we were there before the protest, and she says, let's just go in and just knock on the door and see if we can talk to somebody in charge. Let's get them to come and address as to why we need this thing, right? I said, you just don't do that here. This isn't like Hill Air Force Base. You can go talk to somebody at the front gate, Said, oh, come on, let's just drive up there. Well, we drove up into the parking lot. Now there's signs that says you're approaching a secure facility. Please leave all computers, cameras, equipment, can be confiscated. This is right before you even get to the parking lot. And then you got the entrance station, and all this is, really high security. You can see all these cameras and everything watching you. So we pull up there and just looking out should we just go, where do we go in to park? And immediately, red lights are flashing. We're surrounded, man. It's just incredible. It was a stunning thing that happened there, and it's like Rod Serling in Twilight Zone. Is this really America? Is this happening? There's no lock gates. We didn't broach any. We just want to just ask questions to see if the response were, and it's not America anymore, man. Sad.
Oh, true. You're such a terrorist. I mean, you want to ask questions? What the heck's wrong with you, man?
Well, what's funny? A listener, a friend on my blog, sent me a link to this. There's a new. It's like $450. You can put your order in now. It's a private spy helicopter that you can buy. It's a quad. It's got 4 rotors on it. It's very, very stable. It programs into your laptop or your cell phone, your smartphone.
Yeah.
And it can track you anywhere. You can program it based on a GPS reading to go anywhere. And it's got a very sophisticated camera lens that you can go. I says, I'd go buy one, get out there on Redwood Road and send that sucker over the fence with the spy camera. Yeah, we'll spy on the NSA just to see what they would do.
Great. See, that's what you should have done. Is you should have gotten like 100 people with each one having a separate one, and that would be the protest against the.
I mean, can you imagine what they would? I mean,
how does it feel?
Yeah, well, this man arrested for spying on the spy agency. Be like spy versus spy.
I mean, I hear it's not even going to hardly be manned. It's just basically all automated. It's like so what was the thing in the Terminator movies where they for the net? I can't remember what it was called, but I mean, it's going to have like maybe 100 employees at the most.
Well, yeah, it's that's the artificial intelligence, and the real threat there is the quantum computing capacity this thing can have. And that you laugh about Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator series, but really that is exactly what we're facing here. It has the potential to take itself over. And when you ask, we went there and we're just scoping the place out, and it was early in the morning on a Saturday morning, and here's this whole contingent of vehicles heading down to the local McDonald's, and we go in there to get breakfast too, and there's this really cute gal in combat fatigues. She has Air Force wings on it, and she's sitting there. She's sent out to get breakfast for all of the people installing the hardware, the computers, right? And so she looks all to be 20, 21 years old. She says she just graduated. She's stationed at Las Vegas at the Air Force Base down there, but she's in IT, information technologies. And so we start just being nice and say, well, so where you're at Hill Air Force Base up here? No, we're on special assignment here. We're installing things at the NSA Center. I said, wow, can we get a tour of the NSA facilities? Oh, she just laughed. Like, you crazy? No, top security. I says, well, can you tell us what type of system you're putting in? Oh, no. I said, well, then let's answer a generic question. What do you know about quantum computers? Is there anything quantum going in there? And she just looked at me and she backed up and she says, it was like, I crossed the line. Because I know a lot about quantum computers, and then suddenly plainclothes people all around us basically almost arresting us to get out of her face. Incredible.
Nice. You certainly are a rabble-rouser, and I commend you for it. Well, folks, that brings us to the end. But remember, we'll be back tomorrow with True to take some calls. Hopefully that'll be, well, it will be Thursday, the 6th of February. I don't know, who knows? I might have my dates wrong. But thanks a bunch, True, for joining me today for a wonderful interview.
And hopefully be back on again soon.
All right, my friend, take care.
Thanks.
Join us tomorrow.